Have you ever wondered what sparked the devastating World War I that changed the face of the globe? In the heart of Sarajevo, on a day like any other, June 28, 1914, the heir to the throne of Austria-Hungary, Archduke Franz Ferdinand, fell victim to a bullet fired by a Yugoslav nationalist. This single act and assassination sent shockwaves through the intricate web of European alliances and rivalries. This wasn't just a matter between Austria-Hungary and Serbia. The major European powers, bound by complex treaties and obligations, found themselves drawn into a diplomatic crisis that spiraled out of control. The political machinations and negotiations failed to quell the rising tensions. And just like a row of dominoes, the situation toppled into chaos, setting off a chain of events that eventually led to the outbreak of a war, the scale of which the world had never seen before. The shot that killed the Archduke set the world on a path to the most devastating conflict it had ever seen. From the assassination of a prince, the world was plunged into a war like no other. But how did this conflict escalate so quickly? The answer lies in a tangled web of alliances and treaties, each promising mutual support in times of conflict. When the first shots were fired, these agreements came into play, pulling nations into the fray one by one. In the heart of Europe, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire formed what was known as the Central Powers. On the other hand, the United Kingdom, France and Russia, later joined by Italy and the United States, stood as the allies. This clash of titans would lead to some of the most significant battles in human history. One of the first, the Battle of the Marne, saw French and British forces halt the German advance towards Paris. This resulted in a stalemate, with both sides digging in and setting the stage for trench warfare. Just a year later, the Battle of the Somme would become one of the bloodiest encounters of the war. Over 1 million men would be wounded or killed, a testament to the devastating power of the new military technologies in use. Tanks, a novelty on the battlefield, provided protection for advancing soldiers, while machine guns mowed down anyone brave or foolish enough to cross no man's land. And let's not forget the introduction of chemical weapons, chlorine gas, mustard gas, names that would send chills down the spine of any soldier. These weapons of mass destruction didn't just harm the enemy, they terrorized them, adding a new layer of horror to the battlefield. As the war unfolded, it became clear that the world was unprepared for such a vast and deadly conflict. The age-old strategies of war had been replaced by a new, more destructive form of combat. It was a war that would change the face of the planet, redraw the map of Europe, and leave a lasting impact on every nation involved. In a world unprepared for such a vast and deadly conflict, the cost was catastrophic, leading to millions of lives lost. The war raged on for 4 long years, but what brought about its end, and what were the consequences? This is where our narrative takes a crucial turn. The year 1917 saw a major shift in the dynamics of the war. The United States, initially maintaining neutrality, was drawn into the conflict. Their entry provided the Allies with a much-needed boost, both in terms of morale and resources. This, coupled with the mounting unrest and revolution in Russia, led to a gradual shift in the balance of power. Fast forward to November 11, 1918. The armistice was signed, and the guns fell silent. But the end of the war was just the beginning of a new chapter. The world leaders came together to negotiate peace treaties, the most famous of which was the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty, signed in June 1919, was steeped in controversy, particularly due to the harsh penalties imposed on Germany. These terms would later plant the seeds of resentment that fueled the Second World War. The war and its aftermath had a profound impact on the map of Europe. New countries were born while empires crumbled. The geopolitical landscape was redrawn, setting the stage for the volatile decades that were to follow. But the effects of the war reached far beyond the political sphere. It changed societies at their core. The war brought women into the workforce in unprecedented numbers, challenging traditional gender roles and paving the way for social change. The collective trauma of the war led to a shift in cultural expression, giving rise to movements like Dadaism and Surrealism. The war also brought about technological advancements in medicine and industry, with innovations born out of necessity. These would later shape the course of the 20th century. World War I, a war to end all wars, left a lasting impact on the world, shaping the 20th century and beyond. Despite its devastating toll, the war brought about changes that are still felt today, a testament to its enduring legacy.